service versus property, just kind of what how things are lumped in. So, would property services, I mean, like, what's considered property services under instructional?
Under instructional, that would be the copy machines.
Okay,
And under office of the principal, property services, they will also have copiers in there.
okay. All right, and I'm like supplies, I'm sure it's like general supplies for.
Supplies would also have books in there.
Okay,
Anything 600 would be
Like 640 is books, 610 is regular
Pencils
general
to-
supplies.
technology equipment,
Okay.
618.
Yep.
So the question I had earlier was, are books on the school level or on the administrative level? And is it both?
Only,
They're both
yeah, on both, but what I,
replacement for the school.
replacement and damage to respective buildings, full-blown series replacement are in Rob Hurley's. section.
Okay.
okay.
Correct.
Yeah, unfortunately, the other category tends to get a little large in some of them. So, I mean, what the heck is other?
Anything that doesn't fit somewhere else?
Yeah, got it.
And one second.
And so for like the nurses, the professional services, is that for temporary help to come in, or what's professional services there?
Different nursing, whether it's,
That's by building or if you have a different one.
like by this building would have.
Well, they're all fumbling around. Who's going to speak for Birdsboro? Mary Beth, are you speaking for it? My only question, from this year's budget to next year's proposed budget, you're dropping nearly $50,000. Just explain that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
I mean, what's the basis for spending $50,000 less next year than this year?
Where we'll have half as many kids.
Supplies from.
Yeah, supplies are down 36,000 from the budget proposed for the current year.
We're just trying to be.
No, I mean, that's good. I was just curious.
You didn't think you'd get that close.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute,
Public events like the Penn Foundation.
Kathleen, the one line, going by Tamara's question, what are property services?
In what?
What are property services? What's the 400 line?
That's going to be where your copiers are.
But you've got property services under the office of the principal and instructional.
There's
And-
copies related to the instructional staff, and there's
Right.
copiers related to the office of
And that's
principal.
all copiers.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the new contract, which is less than what
I know.
the old one was, so. And, Scott, we've gotten rid of most of all the laser copies, right? I mean, they're making copies, they're making copiers on the copier, right?
Most has been done, but there's still more than I'd like. Now, as far as the numbers, we're knocking them off.
It depends on the program. It depends.
Any other questions, comments on Birdsboro?
Nothing else in Birdsboro.
Completion expense,
Dane?
printing and
Okay. All right, have any? Mr. Miller spends way too much, that's obvious.
These copiers are less though.
We have a little bit of piano tuning in our piano service, so we have 3 pianos.
For the property, is that stuff with the, is that like a continuation of what you're working on this year with the nature trail and?
Which one are you looking at?
Under instructional, 700. There's a property, I don't know if that's like actual, I'm not sure.
$11,000.
This year was 37, so I wasn't sure if that was actual, like, property improvements, or if you're purchasing.
No, what that is that's actually the upstairs computer lab. And that we dismantled the downstairs, one if you remember last year. And then this coming summer we're slated to dismantle the upstairs.
Okay.
So that's in your budget under property.
Correct.
I did notice the office of the principal has exploded in costs over the years.
I like to keep my fingers on top of everything.
So let's see, dues, so yeah, property dues and fees under there. Between the two of them, $7,000.
You're in 810?
Oh, we just
So,
had 800.
yeah, 700 and 800 under office of the principal.
$3,000 figures are you referring to?
It's 4 and 3 on here, I believe.
1,000 and 3,000, something like that.
Or you get 700 property?
Both, yeah.
The biggest ticket item that we have under the elementary principal, and if you're looking at 800, is that what you're looking at?
There's 700 and 800 under that,
700 and
under
800.
that category, under your office there.
Yeah, we have the essential, core essential values program that costs about $3,000 to $4,000 to run completely. That's positive behavior. That is a variety of activities and things that we do as far as character education throughout the year. So that's one of the items that would appear under that particular.
Is that just been categorized elsewhere in the past, and now it's in that category, under your?
No, we just got that this year.
Oh, that's new,
Brand new
okay.
thing this year. Yeah, and that's what we.
Yeah, I think I recall discussing that earlier, yeah.
Yeah, it's sponsored through Chick-fil-A, it's a national program. And so we're getting a lot of bang for our buck out of that.
Any chicken sandwiches out of that?
It'd be nice. I love those sandwiches.
Well, if you go to the game tonight, we bought some for the game, so
I don't
they're
think
on
we'll
sale.
be able to get in.
On sale.
I remember those games well.
Hey, let me ask you a similar question to what I asked Mary Beth. And you're not losing students, you're gaining students. But the grand total bottom line for your school is like a roller coaster. It went from 67,000 to 100,000 to 52,000 to 117,000 to 80,000. So like this year, next year's budget would be 38,000 less. Where'd it come from?
We got a lot of things done that we needed to get done. A lot of things have been fine-tuned as far as duplication goes. There were people in different, even in the same grades, doing different things. We consolidated that. That's one thing I love about all of the grades being the same, under the same roof, because you get
Write that
everything on
down,
the same
Jim.
page.
In my head.
I think what you find is the supply number under the instructional
Yeah.
for each of the elementaries, and all the schools tend to vary a lot. That's why I asked if books were in there, in that category, and the replacements are.
We use a lot of consumables that are not hardbound books, but they're more like a workbook
Yeah.
type of format, so we go through a lot of those.
But Amy's biggest drop was the 700 number under instructional, it's $26,000 less.
Right, but if you look at the history, you said your question was about the roller coaster of the history.
Yeah.
If you look at that supplies as well as that property number, those under instructional, that's where the biggest variances are on all the every year.
And some of it too is we've been, corrected as to where to categorize things. So it may have been miscategorized in the past, and this year we've been instructed on where to place some of those expenses. It's easier to track, I would assume, Kathy, as far as
Yep.
those things go.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Monocacy then? And again, not picking on you, so be clear. But Monocacy does tend to be higher in what was spent every year than Amity. I don't quite understand why that is. And I know it's not Dane having good control over things, so I know that's not.
Well, we inherited a lot of supplies from ABC.
Ah, okay.
So
That's the answer, right?
That's what I would say the big difference is
So
probably.
you've been hoarding.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm actually seeing it's pretty consistent. If you look at the 2015-16 actual budget, up at the top where it's instructional, you'll see under 700 versus property, there's a $54,000 amount there that hadn't happened for a long time. That was our iPad cards that we purchased through Title I money. So that money is included in the total, even though it wasn't budgeted through my building.
Okay. And the same with, your supplies kind of, go all over the place too. And again, that was because was it categorized wrong at one point, and is a lot of replaceables.
Plus, we added all kindergarten with us. Next year, we'll have all first grade. So the increase you might see is also adding the special classes.
Actually now, this year from last year.
Right.
budget.
Yeah. So I was just trying, I was looking at Amity
Yeah.
versus Monocacy, just wondering, And really, Amity's population is a lot bigger than Monocacy's too. So that was my underlying question, is why are Amity's numbers less? But if Dane's saying he inherited a lot of supplies, that could be, the answer right there. So,
I can't tell you the last time we bought markers, pencils, or anything like that, because we got cases of it that came over.
so then I would ask, why don't we distribute that through?
Because they're mine.
Yeah, right. I mean, at some point, doesn't even an unopened marker kind of expire that you can't use it anymore because it's dried up?
I'd be happy to share.
Just a thought. Any other questions for Monocacy? All right, middle school. We could pass over middle school. You already saved $13,000, right? So because.
I actually, no, that was Melanie.
Oh, I thought that was middle school. I'm sorry.
I made a cut in my budget
Yeah.
right before she created
Yeah, before she
this, so
posted,
mine
she
was
Oh.
did
reflected.
something really good with the special rev. She had some money in special rev that she was able to utilize instead of using taxpayer dollars, so.
Yeah, everybody's got a little purse over there. Yeah, okay. Questions for the middle school? Rich is looking.
Now, I'm smiling because so far, everyone's cut their budget from this year to next year.
See what you-
But we're about to get to the high school.
Yeah, I'm moving away.
Maybe we should have worked backwards.
No, I was hoping for the culmination. I'm just following the order that it's in on the sheet here. All right, so, well, if no questions for the middle school, then let's go to the high school. Uh-oh.
Here's something to just simplify for you on the one page, and then I think this will help kind of, sort of your point, like what's in that line item and what kind of is driving some of that. There you go. So,
And while you're walking around, Preston.
Yes.
What year did you come to the high school?
the year we started spending money, apparently.
What year was that?
It's been 2 years, Rich, of pleasure and joy.
Wasn't there supplies out there from the junior high that were somewhere in the bowels of the building that you couldn't?
No one's off that. So the top area, guys, what I try to do each year is rob Peter to pay Paul as we look at different areas who might need some things and we didn't, attend to them in the past. So that's what you see in the area where we've increased spending in a given area and what the reason was. And then if you look at the area where we've decreased, and essentially if you boil all this down, the big driver and the difference in kind of the break even of the budget from last year is the textbook issue. And we've talked about this before in curriculum, and we've talked about it in a couple other spots. You know, we have looming curriculum textbook issues. In 1994, I was just talking to social studies teacher today, and the 10th grade social studies books are from 94, which, you know, now that we're kind of at odds a little bit with Russia again, I guess maybe it all came back around. But the bottom line is that's kind of the driver.
But I'll go back to the new ones are supposed to be in administration budget, according to what I'm told.
No, they are. New
All right.
courses are not new books, new courses. So for example, the AP Human Geography, that money will be in Rob's curriculum. But replacement books, okay, for any course.
Right, but the same edition or new
But
edition.
the course is in play. No, it's not the same edition. The course is in play. It's only new books from Rob.
So even the new editions
text.
don't go to you, not,
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
All right, so that's it's starting to make a little more sense now. See,
course is-
maybe I misinterpreted. I assumed that for buying a new math book for the same class, it goes in Rob's budget.
No,
But,
No.
okay, so, all right, that makes a little more sense as to what I was looking at the numbers.
but they've been saying it all along, right?
Yeah.
So,
So an example of it, if you look at 640, 150 is that line item for English. Grades 9 and 11 need new materials for already existing courses, which is going to cost around $22,000 to do that. If we say, hey, we don't have the money, then we take it out of the budget and we don't do it. I mean, that's what's happened, Rich, going back before I came. There was a period of austerity for a number of years where really books weren't purchased, not significantly to the courses. That's why the courses are 94, year 2000, where the books, they haven't had any text. So what you see in that line item, which is 640, is going to reflect a big number and a big increase in that number.
And again, I'll also go back to the reason because supplies in our central office are now $229,000, up from $1,000. So in my mind, I'm thinking new books are coming here, not on, you're just
Yeah, no,
getting
and-
replacement
so
books for your
talk to the
current.
general- So
So-
which line are you looking at specifically, under instruction or? where
Yeah,
is
the
that?
line you just looked at was general office.
General office under supplies is now $230,000 for the central administration, which I was told was new books.
That is for new books.
Okay.
Those are for new books.
But that's for new courses. Is that what you're telling me?
New tech, like, we're getting into semantics, but like,
Yeah.
I'll give you a clear example, separate, for instance, like Jenny has science books that are about 30 years old today. That's coming out, and we'll talk about those things as we go through stuff, but that it's for new textbooks, it's a new textbook series, like last year at the elementary level, we got the FOSS kits for the elementary
Yes.
schools. Those types of things are the things that you would see in our supplies in the district office, as well as some, like the real supplies of the district office. that we-
Right.
Dave, I think the differentiation is if they're buying books, an entire set of new books, so they're getting rid of a set of books, right, and buying replacement books of an entire set, those go in the central budget, whereas if they're just buying 50
Right, so
replacement
that's
books
what
because
that's what I
they
thought, but then I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
you corrected me again, but now we're going back to what I originally thought was, if we're doing replacement books for ones that are damaged,
Right.
yeah, so, or
Those
if we
are in the
have
building, but-
more kids than we have books,
If we go from
then it's coming,
Pearson-
it's coming at it, it's coming at
Then
it.
then it comes, if we go from Pearson to a Hugh Mifflin series, then it comes through me, gets approved by the curriculum committee
Okay.
and things like that. If he's replacing like old books that are just worn out beyond belief, they're
Yeah.
not, then that comes out of his budget.
Got it.
Rod, following Dave's line of questioning, for 4 years from 2012 to 2016, the supplies in line 600 for central office were less than $10,000.
Correct.
The last 2 years, they jumped to $229,000 each year.
Correct.
That's a 200
They're
almost
purchasing
$20,000
textbooks for all
jump.
those years. yeah.
Wait. At the same time, the high school, which from 2012 to 2015 was 112,000 or less, that's jumped to 160. So you're looking at a $48,000 jump there and a $220,000 jump in central office. That's $250,000. It is,
We have textbooks we need, I mean.
Yeah, I know, we
Yeah.
had this discussion in the curriculum, and it was, we approved it, and the board approved the new textbooks.
but none of that is an overlap between the two
I mean,
different.
that was kind of my question. and I was trying to sort through this, okay, where exactly are, I knew we had a big number with new textbooks. And I wasn't quite sure, that's why I was trying to figure out, okay, where,
Yeah, I thought it was all in the central office number.
so.
Well, I think that's what we have approved in curriculum, right, is the complete sets of books to replace an old set, and then Preston has put the other replacements in his building budget, and that's why they're here. I mean, so once again, we have control, we can say, we're fine with the big replacement order, but we're not fine with this if that's how we feel, right? I mean, but that's why they're being differentiated, that's why one's in the central office budget and one's in the building budget. So there can't be overlap, or else they wouldn't appear twice.
So I assume, Mr. McKnight, that this is your definite, bare, have to have.
Well, listen, we did not really go through to the lean debt. We'll change anything we want to change. What we have to do, clearly, I think, is define our mission and what we're trying to do and get the right tools in the kids' hands. So whatever, if we say there's not money to do it, we've done, obviously, there's 4 years of people working through austerity, not doing it. But at some point,
I know.
Understands austerity, understands that you do save money doing that, but at some point you have to pay again and start bringing these things to their current conditions. And it doesn't only apply to schools, it applies to any situation where you apply austerity. It went through a tough time in the district. We're not over it, but education marches forward, and we have to kind of make a choice about what we want to do about that.
Can I go on a tangent for 1 second? It kind of relates to this, but I had a brief I know Rob's kind of brought this up before, and I had a brief conversation with Scott today about one-on-one computers. And my personal opinion is, I think we should get it in the budget for next year. Is we start with grade 9, and maybe do a 4-year lease, and then by the time they're a senior, then the lease goes up, and so as each new grade 9 comes in, they get a computer.
So, if I can weigh in on that, we've had a lot of conversation on that. And the one thing I'll say is that line item that you see that talks about the text material supplies at the high school, my projection to Rob and to Scott and Jim was that number would be down by 80%, because there are opportunities to get free open sources. It doesn't matter, we can debate which ones are the best ones at curriculum. But that, you're still going to have 20%, you're going to have to buy some materials.
Sure.
But
80% across all 4 grades, right?
Correct, off the high school budget, 80% off the high school budget in that line.
But I mean, and what Scott's telling me is, if we lease, we're talking about maybe $25,000 a year
Per grade.
per grade. But if we started with 1 grade, just at least kind of get things going, or 1 or 2 grades. I mean, I think I don't want to take the whole apple here.
So that's an interesting topic there with the high school, because grade levels are intermixed, so you do have a situation where you have to discuss whether it's an all-in, because the classes are mixed on a grade level basis, and that's more so where we have to kind of dive into the schedule and that sort of thing to figure out how we separate it. But I mean, certainly, as we get to my budget, we're going to see that hardware costs are driving my budget, so it's an appropriate time for the discussion.
Do you see, because of the austerity, the next several years, that replacement is going to stay where it's at?
I do, because what we've done is we've gone department by department. This does not represent everybody's need. Last year I said to folks, hey, let's coalesce money around 2 departments. And this year we're coalescing around 2 departments again to try to get them what they need. We don't have, obviously, the money to do it for everybody. So we have to do it in a process. And that's kind of the way we address it.
Yeah. I mean, my suggestion, I'm speaking for myself, is let's,
really 6 major ones.
I think we need to start moving with the technology piece.
Well, the technology piece I really believe this, and we should do the data, and I think Scott and Rob and those guys are going to, and Kathy are going to show you down the road here, I think at the end of January, where the real money is. But with what I understand, not only will we save that 80%, but right now teachers and administrators are accustomed to saying, for example, Algebra 1 books. There's 200 Algebra 1 books out there, and teachers can have to pick whatever one they happen to like. When you go into these free open sources, you may be down to 10. 10's enough choices in my opinion, and they're free. And they're going to cycle over and be free, so you can begin to eliminate that cost. Now, you're going to have the capital cost, but you're going to eliminate the text material cost ongoing for a long time. I just use iBookstore as an example. If anyone has an iPad, and you go into the iBookstore, there's a free side and there's a for cost side. If you go into the free side, you could end up going many, many cycles over time, 20 years, I don't know how long it'll go, where you never have to pay for another Algebra 1 book because they'll be updated for free every year. And that, to me, it also draws teachers into creating the course as well, but that's a longer story. So you can really get some control over this text material cost, and obviously there's going to be a shift in technology.
I mean, is this something that we, timeline being, we can accomplish?
Yeah, and
For next
to
year?
echo some of the stuff he's saying, first we have the Apple stuff that's out there. The Department of Education, as they put this forward several years ago, something called OER, which is Open Educational Resources. They're Creative Commonly licensed, and what that means, and they ask states to get involved in this in terms of creating textbook replacement types of things, because they knew that school districts were spending an enormous amount of money on textbooks. I mean, it is very expensive to replace a set, as you guys are well aware of. And basically, if you go out to and several states have really gotten involved in, like Utah, for example, they have textbooks, they have a whole bunch of, especially in math and science and those areas, they're free textbook equivalents that are out there. California has a similar setup there. If you go to their website, you'll see those things. What devices will, and we'll talk about this in greater detail with the curriculum committee and things, but what they will enable us to do is it gives us access to those things. And because of the types of licenses, the Creative Commons licenses, that gives you permission to not only use it, but also remix it to make sure it's aligned with our academic standards. So there's stuff that's out there that we can use as well as bringing in different modules, videos, and other things that we can attach to do that. The device is not, the short term is, we're looking at short-term expenses here with textbooks, which certainly, it keeps them up to date. You know, a history textbook can be out of date in a year, depending on what happens in the world. That can and does happen. But the other thing that happens is kids today, when they're going to college, they're using, and we certainly don't take classes at any of us without a laptop or something in our hands. We want to give our kids access to those to prepare them for the future. The other thing, and we're not there, but we will get there. It's a tool that it goes well beyond just a textbook replacement. It gives us the potential to individualize and personalize learning for each student. And the costs have been driven down. Obviously, if we did this 4 years ago, it would have been very problematic, but the cost of these devices have come down dramatically. And more importantly, what's out there that's freely accessible. And by the way, Preston's right, not everything is freely accessible out there, but there is stuff out there that we can use as starting points for our curriculum and as base materials for and what we're doing. Not to mention, like I said, it's preparing kids for, I mean, we're all using these devices everywhere we go now, so.
And on the finance side of it, you know, for finance committee, which is the mission of this group, you're essentially, if you look at the average cost of a textbook, it's about $125 in high school for a new book. You're going to be able to put a tablet in a student's hand and then have each student gets about 6 books. They have about 6 courses. So you do the math, they're going to be, what is it, $900 or no, $750. You have $750 in a student's hand carrying books versus a tablet which has all the books in it. And Rob's right, you can do many more things with it, but just in an apples-to-apples comparison on textbook costs, you're going to go to the tablet and the free uploads, you're going to, half your cost.
Do we have,
constant new materials?
I mean, do we have capacity over there for,
We've been preparing.
or
for
would
this.
a lot of the,
Yeah.
would they all come preloaded? How much would they be on, internet?
Internet would be one thing we'd have to adjust, but we've been ramping that up.
Would the
as it's
students
just a
need to be on it though, at that
Yeah.
much, or?
What's that?
Would the students need to be on it that much, or would everything be?
Largely, yeah. I mean, it's going to be, whether it's an iPad or whatever device we choose, they're internet driven, so.
Okay. What does the rest of the committee have to say about maybe for the technology budget this year, getting something in there for?
Let me ask Rob a question first, because if I heard you correctly today, if we appropriated money for the iPads, that would be in place of appropriating money for textbooks, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
So, like, your supply line here is $228,000 more than it was 2 years ago, and Preston's is $50,000 more than it was 2 years ago. That's like $277,000.
There's significant money that I will.
So if we went to iPads instead of that 200, your 229 and Preston's 160 is $389,000.
One thing, can I add that? And that's an assumption. Right now, that's just the high school textbook. That's just dealing with the high school. Some of these are deals with purchasing at the middle school, and also we have social studies things coming up at the elementary in the long term. Whether that gets done this year or next year will be a different another discussion. But so the high school portion of that, with the high school textbooks, which is like the AP stuff, he has finance things. So there, all the high school portion, I'll certainly get you the exact figure of that if you'd like, and I can drill that down.
What I'd like to know is between your line and Preston's line, it's $390,000.
Mm-hmm.
If we went to iPads instead of textbooks, what would that number be?
Okay, we will, what we can do is we can get you the exact figure, Rich will get you the exact figure. It's significant, I mean, because he has a major purchase, he has major numbers in there, and he has a lot of supplies also for the replacement, so it's not a small
I
figure.
mean, I'd assume we'd still need some books and
We need
stuff.
some, yes, we need some,
But
but.
I think before the committee can decide, do we want to pump up this technology stuff, I think we need to know what the number changes to.
But it's pretty clear that it sounds like it would be, you guys, I understand that you don't have the exact numbers in front of you, but you think it would be considerable savings if we went. I mean, if what Scott said is true, at $25,000 roughly per class, right, you could do all 4 years of technology for $100,000, and it sounds like that, there's still a big difference between that and what we're spending on books just for next year, right? So if that's the case, I don't see why we would wait. If in fact instructionally, there's enough time to implement handling all that for next year, which is a separate conversation, but.
We had a conversation today, Dean, where it was pretty much agreed that, again, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, that they need an answer by March.
Yeah, that would give us enough time to work through it, so.
Okay, well then in my opinion, it seems like it's a no-brainer to me.
Right, but, so, for example, I think one of the purchases this year was like the AP geography books or something. So if you got iPads, do you not need to purchase them then? Can you do that?
No, we would not need to purchase it, or we would need to purchase at minimum a classroom set. I think that to Rich's point, there will be some tax cost. So you're going from buying, for example, a class, instead of using AP, I would just say ninth grade social studies. 300 kids, you'd be going down to buying 30 books instead of 300, because you'd want a classroom set probably. But you wouldn't have to have it, and to the AP course, yeah, it could be driven right through, just like you go to your bookshelf on your iPad, and there's the book, and you open it up, and you
Right,
go right away.
but does some of that stuff, I would think specifically, potentially the AP stuff, would you have to pay some type of licensing fee or something, I would think?
I mean, we have to look on a case-by-case basis, so things are certainly different, but there are certainly, AP recommends books, they don't make you buy a certain book, they're recommendations, and so this will be driven by our teachers and our staff developing, the programs. Even the curriculum, which is prescriptive, is still developed by the teacher. They have certain points.
AP makes their money when we have to pay for the testing and all that jazz, right?
Oh, but it's not specific, okay.
Testing and training, when you have to send a teacher off to be trained, and then the testing.
Yeah, Dan, I agree. It
Yeah.
seems like a no-brainer. I would just like to know,
Yeah.
before we make a final decision, what the numbers.
I'm not disputing that, Rich. It sounds like, based on the way it's been presented to us, it sounds like it would be at a considerable savings, so I don't see why we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, Preston, you actually feel like education, there might be some benefits to it
I
as
think
well.
Rob articulated it better. I think there's a lot. I mean, I just talked today about the text material because that's what we're looking at on the financial side.
Right.
However,
Yeah, so
from the
my,
instructional side and what Rob articulated, and Mary Beth also said this in our meeting the other day about putting our kids on playing competitively when they
Right.
get off to school and, what they're preparing themselves to do and engage. I think this is, a big advantage, or at least getting our kids in the games.
it sounds like it's a win-win, right? I mean, without
We
having
need
crunched the
some
numbers fully. Yeah, we could use a win-win here or there.
Okay, so you guys will come up with some stuff?
That's very simple. It's
Beautiful.
just pull the
All right.
spreadsheet up, that's all.
I'd like to hear Preston say this is pretty painless.
Am I done?
I think.
Does anybody else have anything for Mr. McKnight?
Very painless.
All right.
Didn't even get hot.
Facilities?
That comes with the work fees. Or April, May.
Facilities?
Now, if I go to high school, if I can do two, it would make me good. Thank you.
Yes, you may. Tell my wife to send me an update on
I will.
what's going on over
I
there.
told your son today he needed to be a little more physical.
Yeah, he does, you're right. Yeah.
But you're your dad, a little more physical.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the $2 million increase in, or $1.5 million increase in property services is capital expenses.
Oh, I was going to say that's the, our contract, our outsourcing, no?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha,
Capital would be effective.
okay. Hmm. So where was that accounted for previously?
Well, the outsourcing was in salaries before.
That was in salaries before.
Yeah.
Salary and benefits.
Your 100, 200 salary benefits are
Now, is that extra money for our up maintenance and all that in here too, or is that somewhere else? For all our repairs and maintenance?
as far as, when you say repairs and maintenance,
You mean like their invoices for repair?
No, all our items that we have to take care of at our properties.
that would be in the capital budget.
That's capital budget, yeah, right, okay. Well, you're the facilities.
Well, I guess my only question would be, did our salaries and budgets go down by at least what our,
I would hope more.
I would hope, but I don't see that on this page. Supplies, and I don't remember what contract, were we providing supplies, or was that provided for,
That's all coming from them, right?
right?
Even-
Yep.
GCA provides
Yeah,
some
600 category, it includes the natural gas, the electricity, and the bottled gas throughout the district. So there is still going to be supplies in that nature, of course.
But as far as like the cleaning,
There's
the
no supplies.
toilet paper, blah,
That's
blah, blah, okay. So that's down a little bit, but not a huge amount.
And other includes,
500 series. Check what line item he has it on. 521.22. I think it's insurance.
Should be insurance primarily.
Yep, insurance, general, the fire, the automotive, the general property.
okay.
Now, is that what's in the budget, I assume, is actually what's in the contract? It's supposed to be hours worked?
The GCA contract
Yes.
is the GCA contract.
Okay.
They don't, the way it works, they send a monthly invoice per the contract and we adjust it downward based on what actually happens.
Okay.
That's a conservative number.
Dave, excuse me. Since we finished with the principals.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, since I was going to get through facilities first, then I was going to say, everybody can, just, I think, go. Except for Scott. Scott can't.
Scott should remain.
You're going to be eliminated on the show here.
We'll make Rob stay too, because Rob doesn't, he stays anyway. You know, you're hiding behind Rob over there, so.
I'm sorry?
You're hiding behind Rob over
Questions,
there.
I can answer them, give you an overview, so if you have anything.
What's professional services?
Professional services, since we do not have an architect of record for anything, as things are coming up, we're trying to go through like a KPN or a TCPN or something that I can try to get the engineering included with as a pre-bid process, but we've always talked about having an architect of record, so we threw the 30,000 in there, so if we get an architect of record approved, then that 30,000 is there for professional services as things come up, rather than trying to use the rules and it would streamline the process for some things, that's all.
Okay.
And there again, It's there as a line item. It's, we're halfway through this year already, and we haven't had a true need for it. I mean, Monday night I'll be bringing a proposal for the admin move, but, we threw it in there. Because we've never had that in it, so.
Are there any projects in here, small projects, that we might discuss in facilities that you're taking care of in your budget here?
After discussing with Lauren, he definitely wants as many things in the capital side as we can. I have money in there for compressors, for air handlers and that kind of stuff, for the everyday stuff, but door projects and everything like that would be of a capital expense. Door hardware, if we have handles go bad or door closures, that's an everyday expense. But if we have a door frame project that has to be done, some of the smaller ones we can just run through mine right away as we see how things go, and then Lauren can make that decision as to where he wants to pull that from as we have those things come up. So, Lauren just instructed me, said I try to keep as much in the capital side as possible.
That makes sense.
So that's kind of where
We're
we're at.
discussing that more on Monday night in facilities.
Okay. Good. All right, principals, bye. Thank you.
You as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I really have to be a speaker. That's why I was late.
Let's jump over everything and do IT last.
Well, I mean, I could tackle special education if you wanted to.
Joey's not here.
How long are we planning on being here?
Just keep in mind, Mr. Harris, you're addressing the principals that should it snow, if you make a decision for a late start, that's not automatically for the teachers,
It's not going to snow.
just on the off chance.
They're calling for 0.8 of an inch, aren't they?
Oh, 0.8.
Well, 1 to 3. Just to let you know,
If you're an ant, stay
contractor
home.
will be in about 3 o'clock in the morning tomorrow.
That's when it's going to start?
That's when it's going to stop. They're saying 9, 10 o'clock tonight till about 2, 3, 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, so the contractor's scheduled for about 3:30 start.
For an eighth of an inch?
They're calling for 1 to 3. That's what I just heard.
Yeah, I don't.
About an hour ago, I
Check.
heard 1 to 3 for Berkeley High.
0.8, not 1/8,
So-
0.8.
I mean, they're not
So
going to come
that'd
in
be
at 3
4.
o'clock if there's nothing on the
Be
ground. but
4/5.
They are scheduled for a 3 a.m., 3:30 start. So my alarm clock will be set for about 2:30, 3 o'clock.
I'm planning on the sun taking care of my snow.
10 minutes?
Well, I can't plan on my son taking care of it if he's at school.
Not my son.
All right, what's that?
All right.
Would you need us for the third item?
So- Oh, great item. Easy. No, I don't,
That's Jim's presentation.
yeah, I
Jim and
don't
Rob.
think
I don't have an agenda.
Yeah, I didn't want to take
Enrollment staff.
I got that right here, I'm good.
So you don't need that?
No, I don't need that. I'm good. I got that.
You got it?
Let's see.
Thank you. By the way, it was really good beating Schuylkill Valley the other night in basketball. I was waiting for that victory. Your kids are a little rough over there. I don't know what's going on, but
Well, every time it says 1 to 3, it works,
all right.
I hope you get over there tonight.
so that's the latest.
Transportation. So unfortunately,
I will tell you that transportation is a conservative estimate until such time as we get the new software in place and plan the routes,
okay.
based on the RFP is submitted.
Do we actually have a signed contract?
With, no, not official.
Hopefully.
No, I mean, well, there's items that need this discussion and direction from the board before we want
Okay.
to move forward with the contract.
But I guess
At least some of us.
all right. But I guess unfortunately, I know over the past several years' discussions, we were hoping to save money. Looks like we're actually going to be spending more money on transportation.
Well, that's,
There was the first year of the 5-year contract has the largest portion of the increase because of the increased requirements on vehicles, age of vehicles, and security devices, reporting and.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I know
Yes.
the board's past discussions over several years where we were hoping to save money, but apparently that's not going to be the case.
At this,
So-
no, we don't.
Yeah.
Well,
And
we
we
have
can
no
also
idea what the
say-
impact of the new software will be.
So maybe some savings over route scheduling.
What Lauren is saying is that the number that's in here is based on the increase in rates that are in the contract.
Okay.
And they
And,
don't
and,
include
and the
any
routes
savings.
stay the same.
Exactly.
Based on
So,
the same, basically the same number of vehicles.
Okay.
so to the extent that.
So potentially,
That's
maybe we could see some savings.
We don't know until, we
Okay.
won't know until we, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other transportation questions? We going to get this hammered out Monday at the board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, special education, anybody can talk on that? No? Oh, it's the technology? I missed it. Oh, wait a second. I didn't see technology, right? Where's that at? Oh, technology, I must have missed the page. There it is, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he had his jacket on when you went to special education. That was happening.
So close.
Well, what you got for us? Besides, I know you're, I already asked you. Well, we'll repeat it for the rest of the committee, so.
Yeah, I mean, basically, obviously, when you look at the two main drivers in our budget, it's software, which is misleading, it's under supplies, so it's not actual supplies in that area, that is software. And then it's property, that's our hardware replacement. And really, essentially, our department benefited from the building projects. A lot of equipment was put in new with these building projects, and it did not hit our budget. However, that equipment has hit its end of life at this point. And that's why starting really in 14-15, you see our hardware costs really starting to skyrocket. We're averaging about an 8-year replacement cycle. That computer is in use about 8 years. So that's about the time frame that we started replacing computers that were put in with the new middle school project. We're now in the process of replacing computers that were put in with Monocacy. So we've had a slight delay really in that time frame. Our network infrastructure, ideally, we'd like that to be replaced about 7 years. We're running 8, 9, 10 years for our network, so that's what we're working on replacing at this point because we're on borrowed time with some of that equipment. Under supplies, as far as software goes, what we found was, in all honesty, the district was not in compliance from a licensing standpoint for the software that was on the computers. May have been purchased for a classroom set of computers and it just proliferated out to the entire building or the district. So we did an audit to make sure we were in compliance with licensing. And in most cases, that was not accurate. So you see an increase in costs there to bring us in line with our licensing agreement, so we are not liable in that regard. We've also pulled in some things from the building budgets, things like the library system, that sort of thing are now housed just in our budget rather than 5 separate areas. So that was an increase in our end that would have shown as a decrease in other areas. More so just trying to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks because they're in each individual budget. You can just account for it in my budget. So those are the two main drivers. Obviously, you can dive in wherever you'd like.
Yeah, I forgot to ask for the replacement computers, or we're buying or we're leasing?
We're currently buying.
We're buying.
Yeah.
And that, you feel that that's better since we're using 8 years?
Well, that's why. And that is, as we go back to the one discussion, that's one of the advantages there. It gets us on a more realistic replacement cycle. When I say 8 years, I mean that is 8 years in a classroom. That's not computers that are in just one-off rooms. I mean, there we do still have 9, 10 years old. And that's not necessarily out of line because the computers are doing lightweight things. But those are 8-year-old computers directly in the classroom. So in some cases in the elementary level, the computer's older than the child. So as we look at one-to-one, that's what opens up the leasing opportunities to have a more realistic replacement cycle.
One question, Scott. Of this $1,044,000, how much, if any, of that is intertwined with the conversation I was having with Rob and Preston?
This does not account for that. The money can be reassigned. So I'll give you an example. As the high school, about $90,000 in replacement costs are there for the high school. That would obviously shift them over to the one-to-one. We would not move forward with the classroom desktop replacements that we would be planning there. so.
But that conversation was not part of this $1,040,000.
This, no,
Okay.
that's separate. You know, it would just be a reallocation of the money at that point.
For these new computers, what system are they going to be running?
Last year we purchased Dell. Each year we reevaluate. Typically it's Dell, HP, and Lenovo that we pit against each other.
Are we keeping it to Windows 7?
No, we're at Windows 10. We're
We're
trying
10?
to be
We're
at
10?
Windows 10.
Okay.
Machines that'll run it, but yeah, we're
Okay.
trying that.
Because I know a lot of people I talk to still having issues with compatibility with software and old printers and...
Well, and one of the things, when we did the audit, as far as licensing compliance, one of the things we were able to do is we purged just a number of titles from the district that either A, it wasn't compatible, B, we found out that it just wasn't being used. So through that process now, we've allowed our software to catch up, that everything is compatible, that we're really up to date in that regard.
That might be one way to get rid of all the rest of the lasers.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Well, we haven't immediately broke a couple things.
I want to print.
Yeah.
Anybody else for technology? Or open the giddy up.
It is what it is.
Okay.
I think 8
You want to go now?
I think 8 years is a pretty good run for a
That's a
computer.
pretty good run. Yeah, can't complain about that. Okay, special education now. Are you sitting in for Shelley?
No, I'm not.
Actually, I was going to say, special education has actually been pretty consistent, although I think our percentage of the population is actually up, but our overall population is down. So it's probably, well, maybe an equivalent number. Does that make sense? No? Yeah?
Yes, I think that's true. Also, Shelley does a very good job of staying on top of this, and you'll see Monday in executive session what we're talking about.
Okay.
Jim, just a couple of questions, just looking at the numbers that I wish Shelley had been here just to answer. I mean, $43,000 additional for professional services, what's the $43,000? Or the $11,000 in supplies? And $4,000 in dues and fees? I mean, I would just like to know.
Well, I will say, though, professional services is considerably down from the actuals in 14, 15, 13, 14, and 12, 13.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, it's jumping from this year. I was wondering what you used.
I'm wondering if
the basis for that.
I would have to think it's the outplacements that we do. We can find out in executive session on Monday.
You know, I mean, what you're looking at is $40-some thousand, which is not a big portion of the budget. I would just like to know where it's going.
I'd also be curious to know if 16, 17's budget actually pans out to be 471, or if that budget was off.
Yeah,
So,
but she's not here.
athletics. I didn't get an answer to my question. If you forwarded that to Mr. Schmidt, I didn't. Did you forward that?
Respond?
I remember the conversation that the high school principal is responsible for athletics. Call Preston, tell him to come back.
Because I had asked earlier today, under high school athletics, what the other increase was.
Transportation.
Yeah, you're looking at the athletic budget doubling.
But we've been covering, that's one of the items that we had been covering in athletics is transportation. So why would it go up? Especially since we've had discussions about reining in the
Yeah, where we're going.
areas where we're actually playing.
Well, that hasn't come, those schedules were done prior.
I understand that. We've been having this conversation though for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, I thought this year was the last year of the
Yes.
faraway
Yes.
competitions. But his budget for next year is what's going up $87,000.
And part of the conversation that we're going to have on this ad hoc committee is what should we be paying for sports? So, I mean, this might not be out of line if that's if that gets eventually approved down the line by the board. But just curious as to what the,
Huge jump.
yeah, it is a huge jump.
If you look at the last 5 years, it's all over.
Yeah.
Which is not a reflection on George, because we haven't had
Right.
reliable AD.
Yeah, so I guess maybe I'll see the answer tomorrow.
You know what the difference in professional services is?
And then all the
That's, I mean, that's,
salaries for coaching that does not fall in here, right? That falls.
That would fall in 100, 200,
Right.
Yeah. So no coaching salaries. This is strictly.
There's officials, there's the middle school
Yeah.
assistant trainer that he wanted.
okay, that's
That's
the
not in here.
professional
That's in there.
service,
It's in
probably.
here?
Yeah, he wanted that added.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that would be under professional services for middle
Yes.
school, probably, because that's a $17,000 difference.
Yes.
Okay.
What did we add to the
He's
A middle
asking for
school
a
trainer.
trainer?
Title
A middle school Bob?
Middle school trainer.
Bob. Middle school Bob.
Middle school Bob.
Something like that.
Something,
We're
Obviously, that would best be a part-time spot. I would imagine for that kind of money.
he's thinking that he can get a good rate on it. He knows somebody, he has some kind of contractual thing that he had brought before that I
Yeah,
wasn't
he had brought that before. We sent it back to him, so it's for next year. Basically, it's a service through, is it Reading Health? Ever
I
seen
don't
it?
remember
Or it's
where
one of
it's
the,
from.
one of the groups that offered us a discounted rate to have a trainer, someone for medical concerns.
Because right
At
now,
the
what
site, we
the
don't have
middle
it.
school kids go to Bob at the high school, right?
Right, but during the meets, we don't have anyone
I know.
there. Right. So, he had brought that last year towards the end, and I kicked it back and said, put it in your budget for next year.
Okay.
And for the high school, they have the cross.
All right. Well, if I get that information tomorrow from George, I'll pass that out to the rest of the board or committee. Superintendent, well, there's 35,000 we can cut. What,
I cut 7.
I mean, is there any questions for our superintendent? I don't really.
What copier does he use?
Is that,
Seriously, though, two
I guess
questions,
that
or
was-
2 lines. The jump from before you got here is in dues and fees and supplies.
I can tell you, I didn't know I even had a budget until I saw this. I don't join all the organizations that are out there. I'm not one of those people that needs to sign up for everything, get all the periodic. I don't do that. I do the state one, PASA and whatever.
I'm betting Dr. Otto had every
And
darn.
that's it. So I've canceled newsletters that come, periodicals, journals that come. Come on, give me, it's online. So 17.5. I mean, I don't know I don't know what my supply budget covers.
Does that include your
It's supposed to
membership
be
at the club?
I don't have a membership at the club. I carry my own golf bags, so I don't know.
Well, Lauren or Kathleen, along the lines of a different budget that Mike and I were discussing, how much of this $43,500 for this year is actually being spent?
You know, part of this should include snacks for the executive session.
That's what I said, our snacks are supposed to be in
It
there.
does cover Dane's Donuts.
Snacks better approved.
We need to change the board meeting night. Thursdays would be much better.
If we just put it in the review, then we don't have to put it in the budget either.
If we change board meetings to Thursdays.
I covered that. You
much
have a
better.
cooking background. I expect home cooked.
I do, okay.
Change the board meetings to Thursdays, I'm gonna take a ride up Schuylkill Valley and watch that school board meeting one night.
I mean, Thursday nights would be great.
Are we still waiting for an answer as to what the?
Yeah, I'm pulling it now. I had to log in.
No, I'm trying to stall as best as I can.
You're doing a good job, too.
you're spending, Jim, you've got her talking to herself.
Donuts.
So you're gonna say your budget's down from last year, is that what you're gonna tout?
Increase 20%.
Cut those professional services down. Of course, they were only in the $370,000 range a couple years ago.
Those are our lawyer fees.
Is that right?
They're lawyers, accountants, that's what you're getting out of there.
We can move on with Kathleen's.
Yeah. Well, we got central office. I think we already know what the big ticket items are in there. Now we know it's our lawyers, accountants, and books.
Lawyers, auditors, accountants, yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff comes out of there. There's bank fees that come out of there, like all that kind of, like, just miscellaneous types of things like that.
In professional services.
Professional services, yeah.
So
And
what
some of that has to do with the refinancing, I would imagine, too.
Yeah, that's,
Money-
I believe that one's also under that account.
Okay.
And anything related to legal services?
That's Subarus, and then I get the Sweet Stevens is in there, and we have special cases.
So what was in dues and fees back in 15, 16, and 14, 15?
What you're gonna, what, my belief, we've gone through like so many people, since that point in time.
So that was a different accounting practice?
Yeah, and so
Might be the bail money.
professional development in there, there's some things like that I've seen. Some
Got it.
See line like that.
That's what you see there.
All righty. Am I moving on again?
Yeah, I'm almost there. There's no report set up, but I'm sending it in.
Any questions under debt service?
Just as an FYI on debt service and the refi, as of this afternoon, as of yesterday afternoon, interest rates in the market were still up, and our swap termination was at about 900,000. The market apparently began to come down this afternoon, and it reduced that 900,000 to 600,000 approximately. But all things considered, the actual pricing is going to take next Wednesday. The termination of the swap is supposed to happen next Wednesday. Overall savings on the refi is at roughly 3.5 million. So we're hanging tough on our savings.
What was our original? That was pretty close to our original projection.
Yeah, close. As far as terminating the swap, we originally thought it was going to be 500,000 against us. As of today, it's 600,000 in our favor. So it's a $1.1 million swing. So whatever that number is, as long as it's on the positive side for us, that simply goes against our bond cost and reduces our overall cost and produces savings. So we're still in good stead. But, that was the word this afternoon. The projected savings from that is reflected in the budget number here.
The $3.5 million spread over 4 years. Right? 5 years?
Front loaded on 5 years. Lou said he'll get us, as soon as he gets final numbers next week, he'll send out that savings schedule, but it is loaded over the first 5 years.
So we'll have a more detailed number once the swap
Yes.
terminates.
And that happens next Wednesday.
Okay.
And the couple joined together here. I had the day before, or the Thursday before Christmas, we had the bond rating call with Standard & Poor's when they interrogate you. And for whatever reason this year, they seem to zero in on what are you doing with capital needs within your budget. We're looking at your budget, we're looking at your overall operation, but every district's got capital needs. And
You said I got an answer for that.
I did. And so anyway, they when you read the report, they speak to the fact that we're addressing our capital needs, but it's imperative that we keep this 5-year capital project in lockstep. That's why I had it on the agenda tonight. Casey and I are meeting tomorrow to look at it, and we'll be discussing it more, as I said earlier, on Monday night at facilities. But the result of the rating, our rate did not change. We're still double A minus stable. So I really thought we would maybe get something, but we didn't. So that's where we're all overall on debt service. But the preliminary numbers that Luke gave me, I plugged into to the budget on the $6.35 million number.
Okay. All right, you should have enough time now.
Yes, I'm afraid, sorry. The total spent to date is $18,793.96.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Well under budget.
$18,793.96.
Nice job.
Well on the budget if we think it's uniform, which we have no reason to believe that it is or it isn't, so that number is completely meaningless, but
And
sure.
realistically, we're only, what, halfway through the year, right? So,
Sometime tomorrow, let Jim know what he spent that money on.
You can print a report out, what she just did.
so he's on track to spend 36, so it's.
Yeah, it's still in the budget.
Still
It's still in the budget.
it's budgeted for this year, so next year.
This could be
Cost
it.
for fun.
You're done.
Still need bail money.
That's like.
Another 20,000.
All righty.
Can we jump to Nutrition Inc.?
Sure.
They've got a 10-minute presentation. They've been patiently waiting to.
Yep. Are they awake? You awake? All right.
See if we can get the projector up and running here.
So as long as you tell us that our counts are up.
Yes, we have all good news for you tonight, so.
Any speculation as to whether the new administration will change Mrs. Obama's nutrition guidelines?
We're hopeful. At least relaxing some of the restrictions we've been dealing with in the last 5 years or so since it went into effect, 2010. See anything good one here?
Sure, Mr. Trump likes a good cheeseburger and fries with a soda.
Could be some good news for us. Just to introduce myself, it's my first time here before the board. My name is Jim Marcy. I'm the new regional manager for the nutrition group, and I'm here with Alonzo Price, food service director for the district here at Canyon Boone Area School District. And we're just giving a little update and comparison analysis of the numbers from the last couple of years to year to date this year. So,
Pretty transparent.
sorry, couldn't help it.
You gonna do your
Okay, it's
Yeah, let it
Side to side. Kill the middle.
Yeah, kill the middle, and that way maybe you'll be able to see it. What is this?
There we go. Okay.
You can say it.
Shut it back off.
All right.
Yeah.
So the first slide I have here is the breakfast participation. So see, starting back in 14-15, the year before we got here, climbing to last year, and then all the way to the right is our daily participation this year. So we've gone over that period from 220 to over 260 a day, so an increase of about 40 per day, which is very good. The next slide breaks it down a little bit by school. The high school is down. We did have a second chance breakfast program that we haven't gotten started yet this year, but Lonzo's been working with the administration there to get that going again. The middle school's up. You will see in all the slides that break things down by school, the Amity number for this year is up and the Birdsboro number is down, and that's just the grade swapping there between the two buildings. But Monocacy is well up as well compared to budget. For lunch, we're holding steady. I don't have the slide on enrollment, because I believe the board is going to be approving the new enrollment numbers at the next meeting, and then I'll be able to have that at our next presentation. But we had budgeted for enrollment to drop about 70 students district-wide, and so that would show a minor decrease in lunch. And also, we took into account that lunch prices were being raised 10 cents due to the regulations that we have to raise prices every year to meet their standards. So corporate-wide, we did a study on lunch price increases, correlation to losing lunch count. But we are ahead of budget this year in lunch as well. And if you look, the year-to-date average is around 1,275, but December was 13,004 average daily participation. So we've seen it climb each month, and we expect that to continue through January, February, March. Historically, September's always the slowest month. Kids have new lunch boxes, parents aren't tired of packing yet, so usually starts out slow and gains throughout the year, so we're expecting to see that number go up.
I have a question.
Sure.
That's based off of 100% attendance, correct?
Right.
So we don't have 100% attendance.
Right, there is an attendance factor of 97 that's provided by the district that we take into account there as well. But there are also maybe some numbers in the enrollment as far as students in cyber school, VOTech, that aren't actually eating here at the buildings that are in those numbers that we can pull out as well when we really dive into that enrollment data to look at it. So here's a breakdown by building. Middle school is the one building that's down a little bit in lunches and in à la carte as well. And I'm thinking that maybe a smaller class came in and moved on to the high school. That's one thing that I'd look at a little bit closer in the enrollment, just to check if that's the case or not. But they definitely have a beautiful facility there, a nice food court with a wide variety of options. So we look to continue to keep that number strong there. And à la carte, all the sales to the teachers and to the students that aren't reimbursable, breakfast or lunches goes into this category. And again, we're holding very steady there. We were up again in December compared to year to date, and expect to continue to see that growing. And when you break it down by school, again, the middle school is down a little bit, but the high school is up. Amity and Birdsboro are flopped, and Monocacy is down very slightly. But the elementary school, you don't see a lot of à la carte sales, extra milks, sometimes an extra lunch.
So what I noticed, at Amity, and I noticed because my daughter's there, it's now cool to eat lunch at Amity. Where last year, it was cool to pack your lunch. They had fancy lunch boxes, all the girls and little girls. Now it's cool to buy lunch. So you can see the spike.
Does Mr. Miller make
That
it
was
cool?
the,
I don't know, now it's cool to buy lunch at Amity.
That takes us to some of the things we've been doing to increase sales. I'll turn it over to Alonzo here.
If you look at the left hand, let me ask you, you touched on it. My gut feeling is, with the change in administration, all our school lunch restrictions are going to be out the window. I really believe that. Have you given thought to what you can do without those restrictions to increase sales?
Definitely. Company-wide, we've been looking at, we're not sure of the timeline of how long that's going to take to get placed. My gut feeling would be at least until next school year, that it's not going to be an immediate, January 21st.
No, but I think your next school year.
Yeah. And we've done all that before and had to restrict things, so it's going to be easy to go back to what we did before and have more of the popular items the students are missing. We know definitely that drink-wise was a big hit when they restricted the beverages that were allowed to be offered to high school and middle school students. Would be one key. Some of the whole grain rich items we're actually looking at, they did allow some exemptions to that. We're looking at taking advantage of those even this year, where we can put that in now and have that start even by the end of January, as long as PD approves that. So we'll be seeing some more white bread options in the secondary schools, which I think will help with the students when they go to those made-to-order deli bars, to not have to have the wheat, but we roll it, have a nice white bread product.
So if you look at the slide that you see in front of you on the left-hand top, it's the Taste Text Goodness. And that's something we started at the high school. It sort of takes care, incorporates the technology of the cell phones. When we first did this in October, we sampled a new guava square that we wanted to use at the high school for breakfast and lunch. And that item really soared once we did the test on it. Later on this week, or at the end of next week, we're going to be testing hummus at the high school, and then the kids get the text, whether they like it or not. And our company will be sending them email or text saying, you might have won this, you might have won that. Some of the prizes included an Echo, I think an Xbox, and I think some sort of flash drive. And with the hummus, what we want to do is be able to do some more vegetarian options. I think that's something that most of the kids are into. And we could test that hummus, and then we could do that with a variety of different options for the students. On the right-hand side, you'll see the Aliens for Breakfast, which is our most popular promotion to date for the elementary level. The line gets decorated. The kids at the end of the day get the opportunity to win the bulk breakfast for Aliens. We did it in Monocacy. They were averaging around 55 students for breakfast. And as of today, that number keeps increasing. And today, they actually did 92 for breakfast at Monocacy for that. On the bottom left, you'll see one of our cafe specials. It was edible bowls. We also did peppermint hot chocolate. We did the root beer float. And when we did the peppermint chocolate and root beer float, that actually increased sales on the Fridays that we had that to over $250. So that was something the kids could have. It was just a Friday special. It wasn't an every week thing. It still was compliant with all the regulations for smart snacks and different things like that. So we were able to increase our sales with that. We have spring rolls, which are in January. And then next month, going into Valentine's Day, we're going to do chocolate dipped fruit, which I think would be nice for the kids to have and be available to them. And then later on in the year, you'll see reloaded waffle fries, flatbreads, and then one of the new trends is salad shakers. Instead of having it in that flat container, it's all in a cup. You shake it, you eat it, and it's on the go. It's one of the newer items that will be coming in. One of the other promotions we did for our first graders was Lunch for Life. It gave them an opportunity over 3 days to sample some of the food that we have in our cafeteria. I know back when I was in high school or when I was in school, my lunch consisted of one thing and that was it. Whereas nowadays they have a choice of 3 or 4 hots every day, 3 or 4 colds. And so this was an opportunity for them to come into there for free. And the cost was carried over by our some of the vendors that provided some of the food. And it was a chance for them to try the food so that way they can sort of get latched on to what the good choices are for lunch and they keep coming back. So we saw like a 5 to 10% increase with the Lunch for Life program, and it still continues to build on that today.
One of the things we focused on this year with our employees at our opening meeting was John Gordon, a motivational book, The Energy Bus. And so we've carried that throughout the school year. They watched a video of that to start the year and just focuses on their positive attitudes, driving their own bus, not letting people get on their bus and cause them distractions or to swerve off the positive path. So we've seen, as I visited the schools, an increase in the positivity amongst the staff. On the right-hand side, we have a picture there of our Christmas party at Italian Delight, and we had 34 of the 37 cafeteria workers come out for the Christmas party, which is a great amount of participation for that. So I think we're heading in the right direction there with our employees here in the district. And my final slide here is just an update on where we are year to date. I did the bottom line through November only because the December numbers aren't quite finalized. At that point, we're at a negative $8,332 loss. December preliminary, if it's a loss, it's going to be very small, in the hundreds. So even saying that's negative 10,000 at this point, halfway through the year, if we projected doubling that through the end of the year, that'd be negative 20,000 loss at the most. I do expect actually to see the larger months of January, February, March, and April to actually hopefully turn some profits this month and get that number down even farther before the end of the year. So at this point, projecting through the end of the year, nutrition's fees, our guarantee covers that to break even. The $42,352 that we would easily cover that loss and have the district at a break even, no impact to your general fund. Everything would be covered within the food service fund. So, do you have any questions or anything I can go back to?
So where are you guys at with employees as far as did you keep maintaining, or did you wind up reducing staff yet? Or
we didn't have to reduce any besides attrition, ones that
you
were
had
already-
some natural
Right.
okay.
Now with Birdsboro next year, we've looked at some options. We might have a few more retiring, and we think we'll be able to move all the pieces and keep everybody working. We did have a couple hour reductions from last year to this year, trying to control the expenses, but it seems to have worked out really well.
Right. Yeah, so because next year we're just going to have one grade, right, at Birdsboro.
Yeah.
Are you still going to have this same variety? You're going to be able to do that with the folks?
We probably
It'll
dropped.
still be the same variety. We'll probably have 1 or 2 less people just because if you only
Yeah.
have 100 and some odd students.
Yeah, I mean,
those that meet might
is there
only be
any way
75.
to bring some production over from other schools that may be?
Exactly.
Right.
Uh,
It also depends upon what the lunch schedule looks like, how far apart they are, so
Yeah.
what we need to do finally for that.
You know, I don't know if is it possible that if it's available, they could use a school van if they needed to get some production over there, or?
Yeah. We do already have a driver that brings things here to the school from next door, so
That would just be a timing issue.
Just trying to think of, because if you only have 100 kids there, it's sort of, 150, whatever. It's kind of hard to have a full staff there and,
Yeah,
yeah.
it hurts the economies of scale to have like that person there.
Okay. Any other questions for them before we let them free? And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your time.
So where are we at? Capital projects? Is that the?
Well, I kind of spoke on that earlier, just the fact that Standard & Poor's zeroed in on that this year, and we already had it in place, but it will be discussed further in facilities. We will be maintaining our 5-year capital project budget in lockstep with the 5-year general fund budget, with the first year being hard numbers on real projects that we're planning to continue this year in the summer.
Okay. So nothing else under that bullet point then?
Nope.
All right. Enrollment, staffing?
Okay, how much do you want to get down into it? I mean,
Well, I think really, I mean, this is what I understand. I mean, obviously, we're still seeing either flattening out maybe of enrollment at the elementary, but that's still lower than some of the classes that are moving up.
Well, okay, currently, well, as of December 23rd, we were at 3,373 students. That's down from the year prior from 3,439. Okay. So we're looking at high school, 1155, middle school, 819, Monocacy, 449, Birdsboro, 249, and Amity at 701.
Okay. What are you guys projecting for kindergarten next year?
We're right now, we're working with 190.
90. What do we have this year? 185?
187, 188.
Okay.
We keep the 2 full-day programs. We have budgeted for 15 each, so that's 30. And then we're looking at 82 and 80 for the AM 82 and PM 80. That's been pretty consistent.
Okay.
We like to add about another 5, 8, 9% going into first grade. So we try to get it to be about 220, we estimate. But right now, what you'll see on Monday will be the 190 number carried forward, because that's what we work with.
Okay. So, I mean, what's the overall scope of staffing then? What are we looking at?
For next year?
Yep.
For next year, we're looking at a reduction of at least 2, possibly 3 in elementary, and then some shifts from the middle school up into the high school for support. So we have a bubble that we knew last year that was going to happen this year at the middle school. So we have that, and then we have the decreases because of the consolidation of the elementary programs, which hasn't hit the second grade yet, but it is, but it will affect third, fourth, and fifth.
Isn't the rising 6th graders, aren't they bigger than what we had this year?
Yeah, they're both. Well, the rising, yeah, the current fifth graders.
The current fifth graders are larger than the current 6th graders.
So that's a bubble that's going up to the middle school.
Right.
But also.
But you said you're moving from the middle school to the high school.
Well, there's some support needed at the high school.
Right.
So we're not adding overall FTEs.
Right.
But we are shifting our current employees. But we will be coming down sections, basically 11 to 10, pretty much in the elementary programs. But once again, that consolidation has not hit the second grade yet, because right now there'll still be 2 second grade programs, 1 at Amity, 1 at Monocacy. Once that comes down, then we'll go from 11 sections to 10 or 9, depends on how we want to do the class size.
All right.
I'm just following up on sort of where you were going. I think if we have, because I'm not sure how we're shifting resources out of the middle school. If we're gonna have more kids at the middle school next year than this
Well, it
year.
depends on the grade level.
Okay.
Depends on the grade level. We have 2 people leaving, and they're both social studies. So we're going to fill possibly the high school position with a current employee, and then
So the social studies are leaving from high school?
high school social studies.
Are they retirements, or are they just
The
people
high
who
school
are?
person has another position. He's leaving within the next few weeks or maybe months. At the middle school, it's retiree. Turns out, staffing-wise, we may not need a full-time position, so that may be a part-time. We're still working on it right now. So,
Okay. I know, Mr. McKnight has a question about math, right? He's going to bring up the curriculum first, I guess, right?
Yeah, Mr. McKnight has requested that he's made a request that he get an additional staff member at the high school. He's made that request to us to answer that
Now,
question.
is that, you're referring to that as in the
Yes.
support?
yes.
Okay.
So we're not looking to add on to our overall.
Just shifting of
Shifting.
the employees.
Right.
Right.
And with that shift, we would also like to add one other program, but that's within our numbers that we have.
Do we have, do we know what teachers have certifications for what
Yeah.
areas?
Yeah.
Yeah. What we are waiting on right now, though, are the retirees. People are waiting to see if there's some sort of incentive. We're well out. You know, I mean, this conversation will happen again in March, April, because people are waiting to see what sort of incentives
Well,
are
I mean,
offered,
I'll speak frankly, I mean,
so they don't say anything.
I'm not inclined to look at that, especially with the fact that the new contract. I mean, you know, if someone was waiting to retire, if they look at the contract and say, I'm not getting much of an increase,
Plus, historically, we didn't really, even when we offered the early incentive to leave, retire, we didn't have that much as far as the participation. So I think the 1 year we did it, the first year was like we saved like $20,000.
But that's the response you get when we ask, is
Right.
anyone retiring? Oh, well, are there any incentives?
No.
I'm like, no. And then they go, okay, well, and they
Yeah,
might go
you
wait
get to
and see.
spend every day sleeping in, there's your incentive.
I think it's pretty safe in saying right away that, don't wait for something to come because.
they still enjoy teaching. We're glad to have them. They're looking and saying, you know what, I'm not making any more money to add to my retirement. Okay?
Just please don't retire in the middle of the school year.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the only real variable that we're looking at right now is the rising fourth graders and the rising first graders who would have siblings at AEC, if they would like to leave Birdsboro and not be fifth graders there. So right now, we have 7 who have said yes, 5 have said no. The deadline is tomorrow, so there's 4 going not
Then
sure.
deadline, good.
So that would be that one extra position.
So we should have our handle on staffing before summer. We won't have any large
No,
classes that
we're way ahead on that now.
Okay. Good.
And also, because we're adding, because of the consolidation, we have more sections. So if we have 10 sections and we keep a cushion of, say, 3, we can add, 10 kids and still be under our cap because of
You
the
can spread it
capacity
out.
that we can spread out. Before we couldn't do that.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? Staffing, enrollment?
I've got a statement.
I say question.
I
say
sat here patiently, but after the agenda meeting today, we had what I guess is best described as a spirited conversation about staffing and enrollment. I will email this to the entire board tomorrow.
Am I got to hear it again Monday night? Unless, just, because I can prepare myself.
You'll be hearing this every meeting between now and June. But as I said to Jim and Rob today, the staffing now, the enrollment now will change between now and June. So these numbers are all preliminary, but simple math based on the enrollment of December. Jim said 2 or 3, I'd say 6 or 7.
That's a big difference, right?
And that's all within policy. So with the budget numbers that we have, I don't think we can choose to be magnanimous and just say, well, we'll keep extra 3 teachers. The other thing is, you mentioned that middle school, 6th grade enrollment does, it jumps 30 people. 7th grade enrollment, however, declines 30 people. And 8th grade enrollment declines, this is all as of right now, 9. So the middle school's taken an enrollment of -9. I don't think they need any more teachers next year than they have this year. 6th grade's going up, 7th grade's going down. And the high school, with all due respect, and I would say it if Preston were here, we've had this discussion every year that Preston's been here. Preston always wants more. And as I said to Jim and Rob today, with the budget the way it is, they have as much of an obligation to manage as efficiently as possible as anybody else. If Preston can get by without that extra, he should. Plus, there's 2
as you
aides
know-
that we hired this year to fill in because we allowed 1 grade to run over. We won't need those 2 aides next year either.
By the way, our aid situation is they turn over quite a few.
No, I'm just
so-
saying, but the
Right.
total number should be -2.
But, and as you know, I'm sure we'll be having this discussion through, until the budget's passed, so.
Absolutely.
But at least we get something preliminarily that we can look at for the budget. So if we're going to go with a number of 2 or 3, at least we have something to start off with for next year's budget, so. Okay, BEC, MEC, BCIU.
Okay, the other question was the students who are in the new IU programs that we're doing. We currently have 15 students in the pre-K program over at BEC. And at the kinder care, the after-school care, before care, that was started late.
Right.
Because IU just didn't know what they were doing at that point. There's 1 student in the AM, 1 student in the PM.
So we added one, we've doubled.
Cloned them. And we have basically 4 students in the before and after care, 1 student every day, 1 student every other week, Monday to Thursday, then it's sporadic. So we have people slowly getting involved. We hope to ramp that up better for next year because it'll be at the start of the school year. And also, it just got, and Mary Beth, correct me, the program just got an award or not?
4-star.
4-star program.
Yeah, they're rated, the programs are rated between a 1 and a 4-star quality program, and they just received a 4-star. The state.
Yeah, so it's one of the few 4-star programs in the area, so we hope that's a great marketing opportunity.
This is for the IU program or?
The IU
For the preschool program.
within our building.
So I assume as you said, you're going to try to market this a little bit better.
Right, because they thought they could get it up and running a lot, well, not the preschool part, they got that up and going. But also, if we can get the preschoolers already in our building and then channel them into kindergarten, we could hopefully, we're trying to increase our kindergarten numbers. Hopefully for next year, they'll be in the 220s coming in, and then in the 1st grade, they'll hopefully be at 240, 250, because we're losing them to other sites right now, and then they're going somewhere else for kindergarten.
Right. So how those programs, how much space are they taking up at MEC?
What's it, 2 classes at BEC for preschool?
It's just one.
1 class? Okay. 1 class.
If will that get moved, everything into MEC?
No, that's
No,
staying
that's staying
at BEC.
Do you know what the mix, where the children are coming from?
I can find that out. No, I don't know that.
I inquired about it. I believe right now 12 out of 15 are from the Dini Benefits area.
No, I mean, from Birdsboro, if you knew where, if they were, Birdsboro's students or,
No,
just
I could
curious.
find out.
It's not that important. It's easy for me.
And we're providing transportation to the,
No, the parents bring them to school.
I mean, as far as if they go to the extended kindergarten, the kindergarten enrichment, and they're there at our morning, and they want to go in the afternoon, do we take them over? Or is that?
No,
is that-
the extended care, that's at MEC.
That's an MEC.
So they're already in the building.
Then forget that question.
Okay.
I don't think that's how it works, but okay.
Strike that.
Okay.
You withdraw the question?
I would. River Rock lease?
Met with them this afternoon, Lauren and I, started preliminary talks. They're interested in this building, just because they're already here, they get along with the neighbors. They're currently bringing in more elementary students. They have about 6. They pull from about 16 different districts. So they would like to be here. They just want a simpler lease. And Lauren and I just thought so we could start putting some numbers together for them. They're interested.
Where are we at with numbers for moving administration?
The cost? Well, we would just
We're going
get,
to talk about that Monday.
we would just get classrooms, so there's really we're not asking to do anything, retrofitting anything special. We'd have to look at the
I
building.
mean, 'cause I remember that when we talked about this before, they were adding walls
No.
and
Casey did mention.
buzzers
Phones
and.
No,
Remember, at least the last I had heard, they were moving to the high school.
Right.
So
They're
we're
not now.
So we're looking at,
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, if you put them in that old, if they use the old
Yeah, yeah.
main office,
Yep, yep.
you'd have to segregate that hall. And
Oh,
we're
that's
gonna
right,
lose
they
all
were
the
on the
lockers in that
BEC
hall.
now.
It's
Right.
gonna be.
They're moving
Okay,
to
so it's
BEC.
BEC.
we're gonna go to BEC, second floor. Now, Casey did mention something about the heat and air the other day.
We can put you into the collapsing rooms.
Hey, keep me on edge. But no, Casey did mention something about the heat is either always on or off.
Yeah,
So he
it's
wanted to do
a
something-
one-stage system,
Right.
pneumatics, it's old, and
So he
yeah, it's
said-
either you get heat or you get,
Cool. So he mentioned something with that, and other than that, it's just the move and seeing whatever else is needed,
Some
but we're
little
not.
heaters, I got a couple in my basement.
Yeah, I have a
Use
space
anymore?
heater and a
So I got-
dehumidifier, so yeah, it's gonna be a simple move over for us.
The band has sweatshirts and stuff.
Yeah.
One even looks like a little fireplace, so, you know,
Ooh.
could have some ambiance.
That's nice.
but so that's what your thought now is BEC.
BAC, right. Admin, keeping the facility available for the community, for basketball, volleyball, cafeteria, whatever they need over there. Wrestling, because there's always an issue over here at Amity where Dane has the gymnasium set up for something and they still want to play the game. So I've been letting them come in here. I open the building for them when there's not karate, but BEC could be used for that also. Keeping it as a community resource center.
There's going to be an additional charge for wrapping games from my office.
Yeah, I mean, I'll carry his
You're
stuff.
you're retiring. I thought you were retiring this at the end of this year.
You also blended the three. Oh, this is going to be between now and then.
Ah,
I do want to go on record.
I'm happy to see.
I had Mary Beth Torshid talked into going to BEC to begin with. And somebody at that meeting said, well, Mary Beth, if you had your druthers, where would you rather go? And all of a sudden, we were here.
Yeah. So, but BEC works. Near Rita's.
I think it was Andrew.
I don't use words like druthers, so it wasn't
You can use words like event horizon or south of Wazoo.
that narrows it down.
I use a lot of words, but that's not one of them.
The good news is every Friday we order out lunch from a
Nice.
different restaurant.
There you go.
And you'll back up to whose property?
Duracell.
There you go.
I know.
All righty. Nutrition group we took care of. Back to the delinquent tax folks we had in a while back. I know you guys were meeting with them
yeah,
again.
We met with them a couple weeks, a month ago, before the break. It's on the agenda to move forward with them.
Okay.
As of today,
Did they present to the full board or just the
Yes.
finance
Yeah,
committee last
full
time? It was the full
board,
board,
and
okay.
then- And then we called them back and we had more questions for them.
as of today, we have approximately 970,000 going for real estate. They only handle the current.
They handle the current and new. Anything that was,
Right.
that's
Rather-
still on,
rather
that's
than
still,
sending the
yeah.
2016 year to the county, we would turn it over to Portnoy. And right now, that number is approximately 970,000.
The new money is 970,000?
is that like one big ticket?
So,
She's still processing, that might come down.
yeah, it'll obviously be adjusted, but that's where it was this morning. Yeah.
Okay.
Because if we were going to take it back to Bert's tax lien bureau, we'd have to do it by a week from Monday. But we just won't do it, and I'll contact Portnoy tonight and tell them to get the agreement over here. It appears on the Cal as placeholder, we'll approve it on the 23rd.
And we're pretty comfortable, we're not, you know, kicking out senior citizens onto the street, right? This is just, they're gonna be
Discuss that with them.
pretty class operation, and they're not,
Yeah, that was my concern. I mean, that really was my concern, but we talked to them, and it's a slow process. I did collections for the Treasury Department years ago, and I understand the steps and the judgment and all that. It is what it is.
On Monday, you're going to have to make a recommendation to the full board.
right.
Yeah.
And we're not tacking on, they're not tacking on egregious fees for themselves, are they? I'm just trying to recall what their fees were.
Well, they make, what, I mean. they're
I
trying
listen,
to
I
save
understand
money,
that, but by the same token, you know, if someone owes $1,000 and then the fee on top of that $1,000.
Oh, I don't, yeah.
Then that's, you know, a
It
little
wasn't like.
ridiculous. It's usurious, I think is the word. So, I mean, does everybody recall the presentation we had from them? Is everybody in agreement that this is something we should move forward on?
I think it needs to be done.
Dana?
Yeah, I mean, Jim had talked about like a tax amnesty, but
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But I think if we're going to say we're doing the best with the tax dollars, then we should go out and try to collect all the tax dollars and not let people not pay. And they seem like a good company, and I've asked them a lot of questions.
Got good referrals from other districts?
Yeah.
See, my
As
understanding is
much
they'll
as
work,
I'd like to see-
they'll try to work with you, it's,
Yeah.
but there are people that just won't pay their taxes until.
as much as I'd like to see school property taxes eliminated, my feeling is that as long as they're here, everybody should pay their share.
Yes.
So,
Okay, well, sounds like you got a recommendation. Other?
Back to the budget presentation, page 22. Under Act 1, the district is required to, by the 26th day of January, either adopt a resolution saying that the 2017-2018 budget will not, the millage will not exceed the index of 3.3%, or adopt a preliminary budget. Last year, you opted to exercise all of your options short of budget or a ballot referendum. So what you have there in front of you are the three scenarios. First column being the 29.7 mils current. 30.68 mils would be the 3.3% to the index. 31.09 mils would include the index plus additional revenue in the neighborhood of $440,000 for an exception related to PSERS. So on the Cal agenda and on the voting agenda, we need to have which option you want and get it approved before the 26th of January. So,
Well, yeah, again, if I recall correctly, we typically, except for last year, we go into the meeting, I mean, we can discuss it at the Cal, but we go into that meeting with resolutions
I have
for
both prepared.
both.
Kathleen has them both
Yeah,
prepared.
And you know, I think it's such a individual decision by a board member. I mean, I don't think this committee should make a recommendation on it.
Okay, so I'll have both.
Have this information for all the board members.
It's currently, both are currently on the Cal agenda. Okay?
Does everybody disagree with that?
Those are the numbers currently. Obviously, the revenue numbers are based on what we have available to us right now. And the expenditure numbers are what you reviewed tonight with the building budget. Okay? So
something you had started to discuss at the last finance committee meeting that I think everybody needs to be aware of is we've been sold a bill of goods for years that PSERS was going to top out at like 32%. This year it's already over 32%. Now they're saying it'll top out at 36. So,
I don't think it's ever gonna top out.
well, they were saying it was gonna plateau.
Right.
It's apparently not gonna plateau, and it's gonna keep rising for the next several years. On top of that, our governor, who wanted to raise taxes 2 years ago, now realizes he has to run for re-election next year, so he's saying he doesn't want to raise sales tax or state tax. They want to find other sources of revenue or cut spending. They're looking at $1.5 billion deficit for next year. I would not count on us getting any extra money from the state next year. I also wouldn't count on us getting an on-time budget this June. So, I mean, what we have
I don't know,
is
Rich.
what we
It
have.
looks like your argument is for leaving all our options on the table.
Oh, absolutely. You have to.
Okay.
I don't see any choice this year.
All right.
I just wanted
was
to
like,
caution
wait a minute.
everybody what's coming.
Does the total expenditures include a reduction of staff?
No, I was going to point that out. Jim asked me that this morning, and until the board approves anything, if you want me to reflect that, would be a ballpark number at this point.
I mean, I think conservatively, I mean, I think we could at least say 2. I mean, if you're saying 2 to 3 and Ms. Martinez is saying 6, 7,
No, that's only teachers. We were also looking at support staff also, because as we consolidate, we have redundancies.
but obviously the support staff number is not going to be near what the teacher number is per se, right? I mean, when you say support staff, you're talking secretarial aides.
Classroom aid.
Yes, classroom aid secretary.
But even using these numbers, Jim said earlier, and we said it 2 days ago, the fact that we're addressing this 5 months in advance. So each month, as we move forward, when we look at enrollment, we look at staffing, we can downsize this number in a preliminary budget because we won't adopt the preliminary budget
Sure.
until May.
Sure.
So we'll just constantly tweak this.
And we talked about looking at, I think, March numbers, when we started looking, really digging into, because people are going to announce their retirements, people start looking for jobs, so we'll know who's going to stay, who's going to go, who's going to retire in March.
And oddly, Nutrition Inc. said they had factored in a reduction of 70 in enrollment. That's exactly what we lost, was 71, I believe.
Maybe they're in the wrong business, they should go into
Great
prognostication.
Yes.
Okay?
Remember, we have to adopt a vote at the Cal in May, because the compressed cycle of the voting meeting.
But we changed our June meeting, right?
We moved the meeting up in June.
Before this goes public, there's a typo on page 24.
I won't go public on page, what page?
24. The last sentence equates to an increase of approximately 580, should be 1,000, I think.
Yeah, we need an extra zero there, page 24.
Well, at least put the comma in the right
Yeah.
spot.
Exactly.
That's how I knew it was 580,000.
We'll run through this, but none of this will go out until the board officially adopts a preliminary budget at the voting meeting in January, then it becomes public inspection.
Let's see, 7:54, is it worth it for me to get over to the high school for the game? Probably not. The same,
Is that
anyway.
gonna
What's the
stay
latest
longer?
report?
I think it's worth it.
Isn't your wife keeping you in?
I thought she was, but anything else before we adjourn? Anything from the public? Huh? Okay, meeting adjourned at 7:54.